the old man wherever he wants to go, whoever may be the foe, how little of them we know.
The Labour Party leader, a decade before Tony Blair, was Michael Foot, a lifelong left-wing socialist.
Because we love him and support him, he was with us in the 50s after all.
But Foot came under attack for not acting like a party leader.
He's the greatest party leader of them all.
Friends, I'm coming along here to impersonate the leader of the Labour Party. And, some of you may say, well, what have you been up to all the rest of the week?
Follow the old man wherever he wants to go, whoever may be the foe, how little of them we know. We'll follow the old man, whatever he talks about, whoever he wants kept in and he wants thrown out.
The Cenotaph in Whitehall, November 1981. Michael Foot, then aged 68, attends his first Remembrance Day ceremony as Labour leader. The way he looked at the Cenotaph was to cause one of the biggest political rows of his life. He was never to receive a larger postbag of protest. Foot was accused of showing disrespect by turning up in a donkey jacket. The incident was to dog his time as leader. The impression he gave was not that of an alternative Prime Minister to Margaret Thatcher, claimed his critics.
Well, just have a look. I don't think there's anything wrong with the impression now. Even now, you know, after all the talk. What's wrong with the coat? Many absurd things have happened to me in my life, but nothing more absurd than to be accused of some crime because I wore a coat like that on a very cold day. I marched past there many times there, you know. Up Downing Street and Downing Street. And as I walked past there then, I thought, of course, what would really happen if I shouted out what I'd had shouted out when I'd been on the marches. Maggie, 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 out, out, out. Now that would have caused a sensation, wouldn't it? A real sensation. This was a fake sensation. And so I restrained myself. I didn't say any such thing, but it was tempting.
Michael Foot's life has been one long protest march. No Ban the Bomb rally was complete without him. But he's also a man of many paradoxes. He's both a rebel and a loyalist, a tub-thumping orator and a literary scholar. And though he's a grizzled veteran of Labour's many civil wars, his own brand of socialism has always been difficult to define.
You've never been a pacifist, have you? Well, you're not a pacifist.
I'm not a pacifist, no.
And you've never had any sympathy with communism as a doctrine, or totalitarianism. You've never flirted with that, have you?
I've never been a communist.
You're not really a Marxist, are you?
I'm a bit more of a Marxist, I would have thought.
And you're not a Christian socialist?
No.
Well, then, where is the mainspring of your socialism? What kind of socialist are you?
Well, I don't know what kind of label you put on it. I'm a libertarian socialist.
A libertarian socialist?
I believe that socialism is the way to get the greatest freedom for individuals.
There's a touch of Jesus about him. I know he's an atheist, but there's a touch of Jesus about him. I don't know why I'm saying this. First time I've ever said it, but I think there's a touch of this, yes.
Michael's ambivalent. He's partly a politician and partly a man of letters. And the two are slightly at war with each other all the time.
His supremely intellectual form of argument is to shout balls at you, very, very loud. You know, now if you shout balls loud enough, in the end you just stop arguing. Say, okay, on the decibel count you win, you know. I can't shout balls as loud as you.
Hey, you dirty son. Hey,
Foot is a lifelong Plymouth Argyle supporter. The team that has never won a major football trophy aptly symbolises his attachment to the underdog and the lost cause.
God, that was terrible.
Yeah.
That was just awful, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Inexcusable.
The Foot family have been coming to watch the Pilgrims play for the past 80 years. For Michael Foot and his brothers were born and bred in Plymouth. He was the fifth of 7 Foot children. They inherited from their parents a radical temperament and a fiery ability with words. Foot's father was a Liberal MP, a campaigner against alcohol, and a bibliophile. Isaac Foot owned the largest private library in Britain, containing 100,000 volumes. For although he was a teetotaler, he was a compulsive book addict.
In a sense, it was out of control, but even so, if you're going to be a drunkard, that's the best kind of drunkard to be.
And are you like that as far as books are concerned?
No,
do you have to smuggle them in so that Jill doesn't realise?
No, I'm much more controlled than that. You asked her. She doesn't think I am, but I am. Compared with my father, I am an abstemious. I'm abstemious itself.
Michael obviously inherited the obsession. I mean, it is an obsession. I mean, he has the same trouble getting books into his house now with Jill that his father had with his mother. You know, you cannot bring any more books into his house. And they were very serious about it. I mean, Jill's very serious about it. Jill rings me up. I have secret meetings over there, you know, where she gives me books. I mean, she says, you come round at this time and I'll give you the Thackeray's. So I've got the Thackeray's next door.
Michael Foot's library, even minus the Thackeray's, is impressive. His great literary heroes are the Romantic poets, the political satirists, and the essayists of the 18th and 19th centuries.
I can't imagine what life would have been like if I hadn't been introduced to William Hazlitt and Jonathan Swift and Benjamin Disraeli and Byron here. But these books, you know, these people, they're living companions. You can learn more about some of these people than you can about people that you're living with now.
Isaac Foot had a fierce hatred for the Tory party, which he passed on to his sons, along with his passionate moral fervour.
Everybody used to think with my grandfather that he was the most charming, lovely man to meet. But he used to say, you know, bite a foot and you bite granite. And that's true with Michael terrifically. You know, he can be lovely to you, but if you turn against him or if you are disloyal to the party or things that he feels are very, very important, he can be very, very angry.
Foot had grown up in the shadow of his elder brothers, who were all to be publicly distinguished. Dingle was first a Liberal MP and later the government's Solicitor General. John ran the family's law firm and was to be made a Liberal peer. And Hugh was to become Lord Caradon, British ambassador to the United Nations. It was the least their father had taught them to expect.
In their youth, in their childhood, there must have been this competitiveness instilled in them. I don't know, I suppose it's part of the old liberal Methodist tradition that you set the children against one another. You tell them that they go to, and it was told to me as well, that you have to go to Oxford to get a first and be president of the Union. And they all were presidents of the Union, I mean, all 4 of them.
After Oxford, Michael Foot broke with the family's liberal politics when he first worked as a shipping clerk in Liverpool. The poverty he saw there in the depression of the 30s convinced him that only left-wing socialism could provide the answers. But as he found a new political faith, he suffered a personal rejection. He was refused accommodation by a landlady because he had both asthma and eczema. Did it make you self-conscious as a young boy and a young man having eczema?
Well, I think it does, Justin. Of course, I used to think that it made you. You used to think that it was going to interfere with your sex life, you know, and you thought that no woman would ever look at you if you had your eczema like that, and naturally enough, it was repulsive for people, and so I thought that. No,
did it?
Did it? Oh, I think so. Yes, I'm sure it did, and I was very great had great repressions.
Foot wanted to go into journalism and politics, but he lost for Labour in a safe Tory seat in the 35 general election and struggled to make a living as a freelance. In London, he met the young Barbara Castle, who was also a would-be journalist and politician, and he fell for her fiery left-wing charms.
It was never a romantic relationship. He wasn't a particularly romantic figure. He got, and not that that mattered to me, but I mean, he still got this terrible asthma and the eczema that goes with it, and he always looked scruffy. But I don't know, there was something